Hello again. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy, and today we're going to be talking about machine-to-machine communication using cellular modems. So this is where we take an old piece of technology, a piece of technology that's so old and archaic it seems almost absolutely obsolete, but then we mix it with brand new fancy cool things, and all of a sudden something amazing happens. So cellular modems have been around for a long time. So this is a cellular modem from a company called NimbeLink. And basically, this is a full router that allows you to connect an Ethernet connection to a Verizon wireless network. So what you can do is you can connect this to a switch or to a computer like I have and connect this to the internet. Now the thing is though, this is an old 3G modem. So that may seem kind of like nasty and horrible, right? Because 3G modems are kind of slow. I've done a test and I'll show it to you in a minute. And it gets like 760 kilobits per second up and down speed with 123 milliseconds latency. So that seems just really horrible and nasty, right? If you're going to go and you're going to browse the web, that really seems horribly slow compared to even a DSL connections. And that's even for one person. Imagine connecting your entire small office network to this thing, and oh my golly, that just seems horrible. So you're probably sitting there going, Eli, why would you be telling us about this? That sounds horrible. 360 kilobit per second connection with 123 milliseconds latency. Man, the only thing that you should do with this thing is throw it in the trash can. But here's what I want you to think about. In the modern world of technology, we're no longer just thinking about Active Directory servers and Windows 7 computers, connecting to the internet with Firefox or Chrome or any of that. We're now getting into the world of the Internet of Things, or the Internet of Everything. And what that means is we're starting to have more and more devices, computerized devices, that don't look like the computers that we are used to. They don't have keyboards, they don't have mice, they don't even necessarily have LCD screens. They are sensors. They are control mechanisms. They control servos, that kind of things. They can tell if the soil is dry. They can tell if the temperature is too cold or too hot. And what happens is when those devices see that a certain set of circumstances have happened, they can then send off communication to another computer and have that computer trigger something to happen. So basically, if the soil gets too dry in one certain area, the little computer that is sensing that the soil is too dry can send a signal, can send a transmission off to the main computer to say that the soil is too dry. Then the main computer can send something off to a computer that is able to trigger the watering systems so that the watering systems for the farm turn on. So all of that kind of stuff can happen. So we're no longer necessarily having to worry about sending YouTube videos up or down on the internet, or cat pictures or any of that kind of stuff. We can send basically, simple network management protocol packets. We can send simple text files. We can do simple FTP dumps that don't require very fast latency, that don't require very fast speed, they don't even require a whole lot of bandwidth. All they need is the connectivity. So you can have all these little computer devices collecting information and then doing an FTP dump every night. Again, it does, if you're basically sending text files to an FTP server, that's not very big. 1-2 kilobytes per day may be enough, but they just need that connectivity. And so that's where these 3G cellular modems come in. So basically you can have an entire network of these Internet of Things or Internet of Everything devices. This can allow them to connect to a switch or wireless access point and then connect up to the internet, so all of this communication can happen. So that's why these kind of things are really pretty cool. Let's go over to the demo table just for a second. I can kind of show you what this little guy looks like. And so this is, all that it is. This is the full cellular modem. As you can see, it's about half the size of my hand. So this is the modem itself. In here, it has the cellular antenna. It allows you to connect the Ethernet connection into it. Beyond that, for this little guy, it actually has a firewall built in. It has reporting mechanisms. It has a lot of the routing tools that you would normally use. So again, all you have to do in an Internet of Things Things or an Internet of Everything world is you basically plug this in, you connect this to your switch or to your wireless access point, and now all of those local devices are able to communicate with the internet and do whatever you want. It's very simple. There's no real external things that you have to do to this. Even for this little guy, there's not even a power switch or any of that kind of stuff. Now, if we go over to the computer, I can show you what's going on. Let me go over to the computer now and again show you that in fact it gives you a lot of the routing stuff that you would expect. So it has a DHCP server built into it. And all of that kind of stuff. So basically we can log in, and this is this particular NimbeLink cellular modem. So we can come in here and we can see what's going on. It tells us things like the router number, all of that kind of stuff. Beyond that, it can show us interesting things like real-time graphs. So it shows us the actual communication going on, you know, what the load is, all of that kind of stuff. So if you have different devices that are trying to communicate, it can show you all of that information. Beyond that, we can see things, you know, we can configure a firewall, we can configure routes, we can go into the systems, all of this kind of stuff. So basically this one little cellular modem gives us a lot of power to give all of those little autonomous devices a way to communicate with the internet. Now if you're looking at this thing and you're probably thinking, okay, well that looks interesting, but you know, why is something like this special? So if you're looking at one of these devices and you're like, why would NimbeLink send one of these devices to Eli, the computer guy? Why wouldn't you just go and buy just something off the shelf from Verizon? Now, one of the things you have to be thinking about, if you're thinking about this autonomous world of Internet of Things, of the Internet of Everything, is where are you going to put the cellular modem? So if you have sensors on a farm, and this is enabling those sensors to send data about the weather, send data about whether the soil is dry and all that kind of thing, the reality is this may not be in a nice climate controlled office, right? This may be out in the middle of a field. This may be in a barn. This may be in some place that gets really hot or gets really cold. So one of the things that you want to think about whenever you're going to be buying a device like this for the Internet of Everything or the Internet of Things world is to see what environmental conditions this thing can deal with. So why this guy is special is we can come down here and we can look at the weather resistance of this little guy. So this is something to think about. So it can go down to negative 40 degrees Celsius and up to 85 degrees Celsius. So that is very, very, very cold and very, very, very hot. Then we go over here and we look at power consumption. So 7 watts peak, 10 watts peak, or 10 to 15 watts, depending on which version you're using. Now you're looking at that and you're probably wondering, okay, so we got this good temperature thing here and we got this power consumption, but what does that really mean? Well, what that means in the modern world is, again, if we are dealing with that farm or if we're dealing with a factory or whatever, is that all of those devices now can communicate with this thing. Let's say you connect this into a wireless access point. You put a Cisco wireless access point that connects into here. All of those Internet of Things devices then connect to that Cisco wireless access point. Well, what you can do is, again, this doesn't have to be in an office. This doesn't have to be in some climate-controlled facility. You could literally shove this in a box, put a solar panel on it, put a little battery for backup power when it's night or when there's clouds, and then this can just be out in a field. So imagine if you have all of your networking equipment and all of your Internet of Things devices, and they're not even in what you would consider an office environment. You have all these sensors all over the farm, then you put this itself out in the middle of a field, and then again, because it's built to be weather resistant or to deal with all that climate, you don't have to worry about it freezing, you don't have to worry about it overheating, all of that kind of stuff. Now these guys nowadays, the price point in these things has come down quite a bit. So this particular one is somewhere between $199 to $299. Again, a very reasonable price, especially since it's been, you know, ruggedized and can deal with the environment. Now the thing is that you guys are thinking about is if we start to deal with these cellular networks for communication, the first thing that comes up is people start saying, yeah, but Eli, do you want all of those devices communicating when it costs $20? $20 per gig, right? Because we're looking at it, if I go out and I try to buy a wireless broadband connection, a wireless 3G connection, right now it's about $20 per gig. That is very expensive when you're thinking about streaming Pandora, when you're thinking about downloading a lot of pictures, when you're thinking about downloading movies or watching YouTube videos. That can get expensive very, very quick. On the other hand, if you're dealing with a cellular modem in an Internet of Things world where all of the devices are simply sending text, then $20 a gig really isn't a bad price, because the chances are, if all you're doing is sending and receiving literally text, the chances that you're going to go over a single gig in a month, it's probably not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things to be thinking about. So this is one of the reasons why I do these classes for you guys, to try to show you what the modern world is like and to change your viewpoint about, you know, how computers interact with the modern world. The old days, we had the Windows Active Directory servers. We had 100 Windows client computers all connected to those Active Directory servers. Everybody was going out to Salesforce and all that kind of stuff. And that is how we think of networks. That's how we think of computers. That's how we think of servers. In the Internet of Things world, in the Internet of Everything world, we have these little computerized devices that have sensors or servos, but they don't really look like the computers we're used to. They don't have mice. They don't have keyboards. They don't have monitors. They are programmed. They are somehow programmed. Maybe they're programmed back in the factory. Maybe they get their programming from some mothership type computer, but you don't interact with them the way you would think of normally interacting with computers, and they don't need to communicate and use the amount of bandwidth that computers that you're used to would need. Again, if they're just pushing and pulling text files, a gig for $20 for a month is a lot, is more than enough. So something to think about in the modern world. Again, NimbeLink actually sent me one of these things so I could play with it. Again, just so you guys know, they are relatively slow compared to a normal internet connection. So this one, I just did a speed test. As we can see, it's a 730 kilobits per second down with 310 kilobits per second up with 123 millisecond latency. So again, this is obviously not something that you want to use to watch YouTube videos with, but if you're using all these little Internet of Things devices that are communicating basically with text, that is more than fast enough, really. So this was just going over cellular modems and for machine-to-machine communication. Again, something for you guys to think about, because this is the future of where all the money is, not Active Directory client access licenses. Spiceworks.com. These guys have the free network management software, the free mobile device management software, the free community with millions of users. So if you're an IT professional and you need support, Spiceworks is a great place to go. All of their stuff is basically free and just an absolutely great thing. Again, if you have any questions that I don't answer in the show that are technical in nature, you know, we're talking about Active Directory synchronization between sites in remote areas. If you click on the link below this video, that will take you to the Spiceworks community. They have millions of users there that will be able to help you out. So take a look at spiceworks.com. Veeam.com, Veeam.com. If you just virtualized 100 servers and now you're trying to figure out how to back them up, they have solutions for ESXi, they have solutions for Hyper-V, and as you guys like, they have free stuff. So if you are dealing with a virtualized environment and you're trying to figure out a backup solution, take a look at Veeam.com. NerdsWeCanFixThat.com. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, but you don't want to have to worry about coming up with a logo and copyright and trademark and all of those kinds of things, you may think about buying into a computer services franchise system. Nerds We Can Fix That is a computer services franchise system. They have 62 franchises throughout the United States. They can franchise in every state other than Hawaii. They also franchise internationally. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, you should contact them, fill out the information below, or give them a call. Again, as I will say, franchise systems are great for a lot of people, not so good good for others. Always make sure to do your due diligence, but if you're thinking about starting a computer services company anyway, you might as well contact Nerds We Can Fix That to see what they have to say. Altaro.com, Altaro.com, if you're dealing with virtualization in a Hyper-V environment. So we're talking about Windows Server 2008 R2, 2012, and 2012 R2. Take a look at Altaro.com. They have a number of Hyper-V backup solutions. They have the free version, which will back up to 2 VMs for free forever. They also have the unlimited version, starting at only $400 per host. I think this is a very good value. So if you are dealing with Hyper-V virtualization and you need a backup solution, take a look at Altaro.com. AddAccess.com. If you're dealing with Active Directory on a large scale, so you have hundreds of users to add, hundreds of users to disable, so on and so forth, you may want to take a look at AddAccess.com. This is Active Directory management and automation software. So this tries to automate and simplify the Active Directory workflow. So if you are in a large scale Active Directory infrastructure, take a look at AddAccess.com. Plixer.com. Plixer deals with NetFlow analytics software. So NetFlow is a component of Cisco equipment that shows you what's going on at the network layer, what devices are talking to what other devices, what kind of network jitter, all of that kind of stuff. So Plixer has a free piece of software called Scrutinizer. Scrutinizer is a free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. So if you want to play around with NetFlow, if you want to see what's going on with the network layer and you have Cisco equipment, take a look at Plixer.com. Click on the link below this video. It'll bring you to this page where you can download Scrutinizer, the free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. So if you want to play around with NetFlow, if you want to see what's going on with the network layer and you have Cisco equipment, take a look at Plixer.com. Click on the link below this video. It'll bring you to this page where you can download Scrutinizer, the free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. Is managing users and computers on Active Directory too cumbersome? Download SolarWinds' terrific trio of free Active Directory admin tools today and start saving time on those Active Directory management tasks. These free tools help you manage and remove computers and users from Active Directory and allow you to add users in bulk. The free tools include Inactive User Account Removal Tool, enables you to scan Active Directory and optionally remove users who have not logged in for a certain amount of time. Inactive Computer Account Removal Tool enables you to scan Active Directory and optionally remove computers that are over a certain number of days old. And User Import Tool saves time by giving you the ability to create users in bulk using a CSV file. You can even specify the attributes. Also be sure to check out SolarWinds community page, thwack.com, to connect with more than 100,000 IT professionals. So take a look at solarwinds.com for their free and other tools. So the hands-on review today is the Initech FD1005 hard drive docking station. So this is what is called a toaster form factor docking station for hard drive. So basically what you can do is you can take a bare hard drive, plug it into here, and this plugs into your computer using a USB 3.0 connection, and then you can use that hard drive. So it's a way of using bare hard drives kind of as external hard drives. You can use this for data recovery operations, you can use this for data backup operations, so on and so forth. And it's a pretty good little device. So let's go over to my little demo table so I can show you what's going on here. So this is basically what most of us in the tech world called toasters. So whenever anybody says go get the toaster, they're probably talking about one of these things. And so this is a hard drive docking station. So for Initech, this is a USB 3.0 one. So this plugs in just with a USB 3.0 connection to your computer. And then what happens is all you do is you take your hard drive, you make sure it's a SATA hard drive, and then you're able to slot it in like that. And then now this has turned this hard drive into an external hard drive to your computer. So you can write to this hard drive, you can read from this hard drive, you can do some data recovery operations. I would always be careful about doing too much data recovery using a USB connection. Copying data off of this would be okay. I'm not really sure I would go in and actually do like real data recovery software, but really that's all there is to it. So basically, you know, you plug in the hard drive. When you want to start using it, there's a little power button, so you turn it on. The computer then detects it, the hard drive starts running, you're able to access the hard drive. When you're done, you disconnect it within the computer, you turn it off, you pull out the hard drive, and away you go. So it's a very easy way to use external hard drives. Now, as you can see, you can use large hard drives, or it has a little hole in this little flap here. What that's for is for the smaller hard drive. So basically you're able to use a 2.5 inch and you can slot it in there, and then it has that nice little form factor, so you can use that. So all this requires is that you have a SATA hard drive and you're able to connect it in, and then that, again, like I say, turns that into an external hard drive for your computer. As with all this Initech stuff, it is built very well. We used to use these toaster form factor devices back when I had the consulting shop. And I do have to say this is built better. It seems to be built better than the ones that we used. Again, it has USB 3.0 connection, so it should be pretty fast for you. Overall, seems like a good, nice, solid device. What I like about it too is if we go over to the computer, I can show you on there. If you go over to initech.com, you can get all the information. But one of the things I like about this too is that it has a $25 price point. So again, this is one of those things, if you're running a consulting shop, why buy one of these? Why not buy 2 or 3 or 4? I mean, that's honestly what I would argue. If I was going to buy these, I'd probably buy them like 4 at a time. That way, again, you can use multiple hard drives, read or write to multiple hard drives at any one time, and if any one breaks, again, all I would do is toss it out. Again, most of the Initech equipment has been very good quality so far, but again, at that $25 price point, I think that's a very good price for this type of thing. And again, this is one of those tools that I used to use a lot back in the day. Now, honestly, Initech makes a lot of these different external docking stations. The last video I did a hands-on review of the sled type docking station. And I do think I would use the sled type, honestly. I actually have the sled type literally plugged into my computer. Like, you know how much I really like some product when I'm actually keeping it. It's not going to a giveaway. So this is their sled type external docking station, and you slide in that way. To be honest with you, using a lot of this stuff, I actually truly prefer the sled over the toaster, but that may just be my own personal preference. So basically it's the same thing. This is a USB 3.0 external drive. The only difference is you slide in your drives this way, so you can lay it flat, which I personally just prefer, or if you want a toaster and you want it to go vertical, that's your option. But this is the FD1005 external docking station. Again, it's a good little device. It's built well, like all of the Initech equipment. Definitely give it a thumbs up. So this question comes from Josh A. I'm in high school and my school district uses a network login system and network drives. We use a software called Novell ZenWorks and Novell GroupWise. It has been a while since I've heard either of those names, to log into the network, and I want to find out how to set up the client software that accesses the server from an unrestricted computer at my house for educational purposes. What configuration information would I have to obtain in order to access the network from home, and how would I obtain this information? Well, let me tell you, it is actually a very easy thing to find out the answer to this question. And that is, in fact, to go to the administrators for your school and see what they have to say. What you have to understand about a lot of these systems, again, whether you're using Novell or whether you're using Microsoft Active Directory or any of these other things, right, is there's a difference between what the software or what the technology can do and what the security policies are set up to allow you to do. So I'm pretty sure with ZenWorks or GroupWise, it has a technical capability that you would be able to do something like log in from home from a computer. Whether or not that is turned on within the software, within the configurations, that's an entirely different story. I would probably say it is locked down, and you shouldn't be able to do that. I would say is if you're if you're administrating a school network, I would personally lock that down, because the last thing in the world I would want is high school students being able to log into my network from home. That just sounds like all kinds of stupid. So what I would say probably in this situation is you probably won't be able to do it, to be honest with you. But if you are, what you would have to do is you go to the administrators of whatever your network you're doing and talk to them. Because a lot of times, the thing that a lot of you don't understand is a lot of the problems that you're running into aren't necessarily technological problems. Again, it's not whether you can, the software is able to allow you to remotely log in. It's whether the configurations have been set up to do that, the firewall has been set up to do that, all that kind of stuff. So if you talk to the actual administrators of the network, they'll be able to explain what's going on. They'll be able to tell you if you can do it, if you can't, so on and so forth. So again, at the end of the day, with questions like this, the best thing to do is just go ask the administrator and see what they have to say. But I would say, again, if I was the administrator for a high school network, there is no way in hell I would allow high school students to remotely log into that network, to be honest with you. So this question comes from Robert Z. Why is it so hard to find a job in IT these days, even if it is an entry-level job? There's an entry-level position in my company for tech support, but they want me to have 1 year experience working in the field, plus they would prefer someone with a bachelor's degree. Yup. This has been one of the problems, but a lot of people don't realize is basically it has always been one of the problems, right? Way back when I was in the dot-com boom, right? Back when I was getting my MCSE and going through all of that stuff, it was actually surprising that even back then, getting entry-level jobs was very difficult. Back then, it was a little bit easier, where you were told if you could get 6 months experience, basically past that point you were golden. But if you had 0 to 6 months experience, even during the dot-com boom, even when you would open up the Sunday paper and there was an entire section on computer jobs, even back then, if you had no experience, people really didn't want to deal with you. So that is how, honestly, it has always been. Again, as I will tell you guys again and again and again and again, nobody who is hiring IT positions wants to deal with noobs. Noobs are an utter, abhorrent pain in the ass that frankly just nobody wants to deal with, right? Noobs think they know what the hell that's going on. Noobs don't shut the hell up when they're supposed to shut up. Noobs just sit there and they just make a damn mess of everything. Basically, when you're hiring for IT positions, really the biggest thing you want out of people is that they know enough to know how much they don't know. When you get noobs, when you get people with 0 to 6 months experience, they just sit there yabbering away, talking about all the things that should be done, and all you do as the boss is you look at them wondering if they will ever shut the ever-loving hell up, and you realize no. In a year, once they have experience, they will finally shut up. But until they get to that year experience, they're just gonna keep yabbering away, saying really stupid things that they don't even know enough to know is really stupid. So there you go. So that's why I really push this on you, where you guys need to go out and get experience and realize when you're going for these positions, a lot of times with the experience, they're not really going to drill into it very deep if they're looking for somebody with a year experience. Again, if you go out and you start getting experience with nonprofit organizations, if you go out and get experience with boys and girls clubs, if you go out and start as a consultant and fix mom and grandmas and your neighbors and all these different people's computers, they don't really care where you get the experience from. They just want you to get to the point where you learn enough to shut the hell up. I can't tell you that, boys and girls. All you little noobs out there, oh, it is just painful to listen to noobs, especially when you actually have a project that you have to get done. And so that's what they're looking for, is they're looking for you to get enough experience that you have that base level of competency, that base level of understanding, and that you know enough just to shut your mouth every once in a while. Beyond that, they also have to know that you actually want to be in this profession. Again, one of the things you guys don't realize is, especially when you're new, is that this profession is very difficult. This profession is difficult. This profession is stressful. This profession requires a certain way to think about things, to think about the world and how you interact. If you can think about the world in a specific way, you will do very well in this profession. You will make money for what seems like, fun things. If you don't look at the world a certain way, this is a horrible profession to be in. You are just going to get mean, and you're going to be nasty, and you're going to be grumpy all the time. You're not really going to understand what's going on. And so one of the problems we get into with this profession is that a lot of people get into this profession because they want to earn money, they want a stable paycheck, they want respect, they want all the benefits of this profession, but they don't really realize what the requirements of this profession are. And then again, like I say, it gets really, really bad really rather quickly. And so if you can get somebody with a year experience, that makes life a lot easier. You know, basically, if you've been doing this for a year, at least shows that, yes, this is probably something that you want to do. Also, beyond that, when you're looking at entry-level jobs, what you have to realize is there is a lot of competition out there. When you get to my level, when you get to 10 years experience, 20 years experience, there's not a lot of competition. We can get jobs, we can get really, really good jobs rather easily. When you're looking at help desk level, when you're looking at entry-level positions, what are we talking about with entry-level positions? We're talking about changing TCP/IP configurations. We're talking about running network cable. We're talking about PC tune-ups. We're talking about all this simple stuff that now every high schooler that's been playing around with Xbox, Live or whatever, knows how to do. So there is a lot of competition at that entry level because you have a lot of people that want to get in this profession because they think they'll make money and all this other kind of stuff. That level of work is very easy to do, so you have a lot of competition to get there, which just basically means when you're hiring for entry-level positions, it's the employer's market, as they say. So I would say I would go out there, get experience however you can. Nonprofit organizations, internships, whatever else. At this point, once you get 5 or 6 years experience, life will get a lot easier for you. But when you are in that entry-level world, life just sucks. I mean, that's just how it is. That's one reason I suggest you guys go to college now. I did not used to suggest you guys go to college. I used to be anti-college, but that's one of the reasons I suggest you guys go to college now, is because if you go to college for 4 years, if you're able to do that, while you're going to college, you can do internships and get experience that way. So the goal is you don't just come out of college with a 4-year degree, but you come out of college, maybe you spend a year on the college help desk, then you spend a year as a junior admin at the college, or internship. So you come out with a 4-year degree plus 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 years experience, base level experience, and then you're actually valuable. But yeah, entry level sucks. It sucks. But again, it has always sucked. So get experience. Again, I will tell you time and time again, if you don't have experience in the American job market, you are worthless. I've had some people, Europeans say, if you have your MCSE and no experience, I'll take you for 20 euros an hour. That's great over there. If you can find that, good for you. But I can tell you here, in the United States, if you got a couple of certifications but zero experience, oh, yeah, you should almost have to pay to get a job, to be honest with you. So for the final thoughts today, I want to talk about living below your means and why this is important as a technology or IT professional. This is one of those things that they don't really talk about in school. They talk about MCSEs and CCNAs and what college degrees to get, but they don't talk about basic life skills and why these are so important for your professional career. So recently I did a video talking about the whole Microsoft fiasco, and at one point during that video I talked about some of how much money I was making and what an issue it was that Microsoft was basically trying to screw me, and it could jeopardize basically how much I made. And a lot of people got confused when I said that, and they thought that I have to make that amount of money in order to pay the bills. In reality, for me, I can probably lose about 75% of my income before anything gets to be too much of a dire strait. So I make this amount of money, and then I actually need about this amount of money to live, to pay the mortgage and to pay the car insurance and to pay the corgi bills and all that kind of stuff. Everything above that is just really nice cushion. And I just want to talk about that for a minute because this is very, very important for you guys to understand as technology professionals. Because one thing that people really lose track of is that technology professionals make the amount of money we do because we find specific niches where we are incredibly valuable, and then we exploit the financial hell out of it, right? So a lot of people have the idea with a lot of professions, right? You go to high school, you go to college, you get your little certificate, and then you plod along, and every year you get a 10% raise. And so the idea is, when you're 24 years old, you make $30,000 a year, you get a 10% raise every year for the next 30 years, and by the time you're 60, you're making 100 grand. And that's great. That is wonderful. If you're an accountant, or if you're a lawyer, or if you're one of those people, I guess that's how you move up in the world, and that's a fine and great thing. That is not how technology professionals move up in the world. Basically, what we do is we bounce around to a lot of random ass things, and then we drop into something, and all of a sudden we're making a lot of money, and we really don't know why. I've had this happen with lots and lots of my friends, friends who have worked in startup companies, friends who have worked in the corporate world, where they bounce around doing all kinds of weird stuff, and then all of a sudden they'll drop into some specific niche where they are just very uniquely qualified, and all of a sudden they're making $250,000 a year relatively easily. They're just like, oh my golly, this is simple. But the way they're able to get to that point is because they're able to bounce around to all of these different random jobs until they find the one that is most financially valuable for them. And so this is something that's very important for you guys to understand about living below your means. So in the modern world, everybody talks about using credit card debt and running into debt and basically spending more than you even have. But what's important for IT professionals is you need to be spending less than you earn, because in order to make more money, you may actually have to take a pay decrease. Right? So I had a buddy of mine, and he was making like 120. This was about a decade ago. It was a very interesting story because he was making about 125 a year. Everything was going along fine, and then he saw a job that he really wanted. And it was a really good job. It gave him a lot of experience that he wanted to get, but it was $50,000 a year. So he's making like 125, and this job was making $50,000 a year, but it gave him a lot of the experience that he wanted. So he bounced down to that job, took a $75,000 pay cut, right? So I didn't see him for a little while. I didn't see him for about a year and a half. Next time I saw him, he was one of the guys. I was talking, asking him, what was going on, how much he was making and all that, and he was making $250,000 a year at that point. And I asked him why, and what he said was, well, he was doing this one job at that 125 mark, but couldn't get ahead. He didn't know how to move up in that job to get further than he was. It's like he made it to 125, but he didn't have a freaking clue how to even get to 130, much less 150 or 200. And so he said, he was looking around, and what he realized is in order to get higher than what he was, he needed to get a certain set of experience. And so when he saw that $50,000 a year job open, he realized that job would give him the experience that the companies that were willing to pay a whole crap ton more wanted. So he took a massive pay raise. He was making less than 50% what he had. He went there, he worked that for like a year or so. That gave them the experience he needed to then end up making double what he was before. And so that is why it's very important as an IT professional to try to live below your means. Because a lot of times, in order to get ahead in our career, you have to go backwards. You have to go from making $60,000 a year to $30,000 a year to $125 a year to $75 a year to $300 a year to $50 a year. And if you're comfortable being able to do that, things will go very, 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 very well. Again, as I say, right now, everybody thinks I'm egotistical and arrogant because of the money I make off this YouTube channel. But remember, when I started doing this like full time, when I looked my wife in the eye and I said, look, dear, I have a curve. That's the great story of this Eli the Computer Guy YouTube channel. I said, look, I have a curve. I made 100 this month. I made 200 this month. I made 300 this month. Last month, I made $500. And that was for the entire month, the boys and girls. The entire month I made $500. But it's like, but dear, I have a curve. She said, okay, yeah, but you're going to keep insulting, right? I'm like, no, I'm going to do this full time. And there's, again, you get that whole spousal conversation going on. But because I was willing to take $500 a month, in order to move ahead, we now get to where I am now. So that is just something to think about out there. When you are looking for jobs, when you're bringing in money, if you have enough money to get your own apartment, think about continuing to rent a room somewhere, right? When you get enough money to buy a house, maybe you should stay in that one-bedroom apartment. Again, The thing you really have to understand about the IT and technology world is that our career does not move like all of these other professions. We get paid money by having exceedingly specialized knowledge in an exceedingly valuable niche. When we get the right knowledge and we're able to land ourselves in a job in the right niche, we make a stupid amount of money very, very easily. But the real skill to our profession, to being IT professionals, technology professionals, is being able to figure out how to land into that position. And in order to land in that position, again, like I say, you have to be rather financially secure in what you're doing. So one of those things to be thinking about as a final thoughts, as IT and tech professionals, always live below your means because, again, in order to get ahead, you may have to take a 50% pay decrease. Yeah.